Hey everyone, welcome back to Lead Score Monday. I'm Casey and I'm joined by Chris, Carolan, and Rylee Powell. We've spent the last few weeks unpacking what lead scoring should look like, building it in HubSpot, talking about engagement, trying to define what intent actually means. But we realized we skipped over something fundamental. Who are we even scoring? Because here's what keeps coming up in my client work. Most teams build lead scoring for leads, which are often looked at as new prospects, net new business. When someone raises their hand, they get a score, sales follows up. But what about your existing customers? Someone from your customer base starts engaging with content about different product lines. Are they a lead? Do they get scored? Is it the same score, different? And honestly, this gets really messy really quickly because the signals aren't necessarily the same. A prospect researching your solution is showing buying intent. A customer exploring additional products is showing expansion intent. Same behavior, completely different context. So, before we dive any deeper into how to score, audience versus researcher, engagement models, all of that, we need to answer who are we scoring and does it change depending on your business model? Chris, I know you've been thinking about this a lot and you built something to help us visualize this, right?
I have started building. Yes. Thanks to Nico for unlocking vibe coding, the world of vibe coding for me. I've been having some fun this weekend.
All right.
And yeah,
Can
got
I go
my
ahead and share your
screen.
screen? Are you,
Yeah. Yeah. Please
we're all
do.
safe? All right.
Right.
Yeah.
You might get tired of this one, folks, but this is really where we have to start. And this is coming from a place of this is industry agnostic, this problem that we're talking about. Like, I come from manufacturing, and twice in a row, $500 million company, global, based in another country, and $50 million domestic, like both situations, they knew that there was opportunity to drive revenue in the current customer base, right? Whether it be service, service contracts, repeatable parts purchases, consumables, everybody knew. And what happened in both cases is they went to the teams that were like, okay, you're in charge of that thing, service. Now you get to have the revenue number. And there's no sales process. There's no, like, basically, we don't know how to track it. We just know we need to keep trusted relationships going so that people will buy more. Right. And that doesn't work, to the surprise of no one. Meanwhile, we are constantly told that customers should be the easiest source of additional revenue. So I've been thinking about this a lot from that perspective, in that, first of all, it gets so much easier when you stop calling it a lead score and you start referring to it as like a health score, just like we do on customer success side. Like, bring that throughout the journey. And if you're scoring like trust levels, loyalty, sentiment, that will help you, first of all, decouple it from new business only and start to manage it more effectively in terms of, yeah, we could see this more than once. Like, somebody could hand raise throughout the journey multiple times. The example currently I'm keying in on right now is if you're onboarding Marketing Hub, very easy to see signals that Content Hub is probably needed as well.
Mhm.
If you don't have a way to track that, that is not just some note, right? Like, oh, did this onboarding call and Content Hub's a good idea, right? We need to be able to create some kind of trackable object in our system of data, like if we expect follow-up to happen and closing that to happen. So the first step for me is, can we agree on this part? Like, what this looks like? What does a complete picture mean? What
Mhm.
does a touch point mean? Like, can we really have that in one system? Because if you can, that gets us to a place where we can understand the context of a relationship to the point where Oh yeah, this co-creation of content, this white paper. Uh, this person's really invested in like partnering with us, and it leads to a longer term partner contract, like doubling revenue. Oh, by the way, in between, they referred some prospects our way, right? And all that I'm trying to do right now through um, like trying to innovate a little bit on the stages that we're used to going through is if you get granular on the stuff, like then you have the space to receive the data, track it,
Mhm,
understand what's important to your business outside of the heads of the customer facing employees that are the ones likely with the only true unified customer view right
mhm,
now because they're the ones having the conversations and interactions, right? And what we're used to seeing is okay, we got lead record, we got a list of activities. Okay, so we're missing 6 months of relationship building. The content journey's not here. Intelligence from conversations scattered all over the place, and no visibility into research pattern or buying journey progression, which means we can then not innovate on how we understand the buying journey, right? We'll never be able to leverage things like Pathfinder tools
mhm.
in HubSpot. Not truthfully, anyways,
Yeah.
not effectively.
I know one thing you're really passionate about, Chris, among all of the things that you're very passionate about, uh, is like a unified customer team instead of the silos of marketing and sales. Um, when you're talking about this, I'm thinking about the organizations I know where the salesperson doesn't go away. I think like so often you build this relationship with a sales rep, you probably like them, s- you know, in theory, best case scenario.
Who is you in this
Who is me?
in this
You is
story?
the buyer.
Okay. Okay.
You, the buyer, like the sales rep, hopefully, and then that's what sales reps mostly get paid for. Um,
In theory.
and and then they just go away, and and that can sometimes cause a disconnect in, like, the sales experiences I've been a part of, because then I get passed to a customer service person who tends to be more technical, but I had this whole, like, relationship. So I'm thinking of that too, and, like, this unified customer view and how that aligns with your view into, like, a customer team and not just necessarily that after the purchase, the salesperson stops answering your emails.
Yeah. I think that's where like so the full funnel account manager, which is
Mhm,
where I'd refer to that person that kind of owns the whole journey.
mhm,
Like when they exist, they're usually the most successful type of salesperson in an org. Also, they're the only ones with this.
mhm,
It's just in their head,
mhm,
right? And you go to that person to want to understand anything at all related to that account, to that human, like whatever,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
And to my understanding, that's how the GTM engineering concept that Clay has brought to bear. That's very much how it works and how they're building that team out, where they're bringing in people that know the problem and know the audience and know the solution very well, no matter if they have a sales background or a marketing background. And uh, if you've used Clay, you can understand it pulls in data like context. It creates a context like we've never seen before, which enables you to not have to have been there the whole time, but you start to get closer to this. So I'd say it's a nuanced conversation with, full funnel account reps to want to kind of bring this out of their head and be careful not to get them worried about replacement and whatnot. Um, but that is most real example I'm familiar with in terms of this often exists in somebody. Sometimes it's like the leader of the organization who's always checking notifications, always looking in all the systems. They're looking at the CRM, they're looking at accounting, they're looking at the production system. Like, I mean, that's how I can understand the content that I do like
Mhm.
better than anybody else. I'm just seeing all of the signal, like we're natural, like signal, I don't know, gatherers, at least when we care about the thing, right?
Mhm.
Uh, and like, how do we systematize that effectively? I don't know that we've seen, any real great examples other than like $1 million builds of like enterprise systems.
Yeah. And what does this I mean, I like to talk practical. So what does this look like in practice? Does this is this in HubSpot, or what in a perfect world are all these data signals and then your journey? I mean, I can see these
Yes.
built as cards in HubSpot in
Yep.
theory.
Yeah. Like, I believe a unified customer view in whatever way that means for your business
Mhm.
can be achieved in HubSpot. Like, it's 100% a data model exercise and deciding like what we care about as a business. Like, okay, I get it. Not everybody's going around co-creating white papers with their prospects and their clients. That's not how your sales process works. Okay, you won't have data like this in your CRM, and that's
Mhm.
okay. But I guarantee there's data inside of interactions that are not in the CRM that are
Mhm.
very important to building trust and creating value that are not in the CRM, which means you don't have a unified view of the customer in those cases.
Mhm. Have you it does do is there anyone that's doing this that you've seen? Like, or is this like is this net new, I guess?
I've heard it's not. I think this is where I can only imagine the best platforms where they've got the customer success system, they've got the help desk, they've got marketing automation, they've got
Mhm.
CRM, they've got ERP, like everything is connected, right? I've seen stories of this existing. But again, like, that's why value first is a lot about like the tools are not lacking us, right? It's our decision to want to see it all in one place and not rely on the monthly or the weekly, you know, team call where we get the verbal understanding of what's going on with our most important relationship this week, because nobody can trust any system of data that they have to tell the whole story,
Mhm.
right? This is why CFOs have some of the most elaborate spreadsheets you've ever seen, because they're trying to tell the whole like revenue story, and they're drawing from every system. Like, they're gathering like sales and marketing forecast information from that side. They're pulling in real revenue, backlog revenue. Like, they it's very rare that you can find a place to centralize and unify this understanding. So that's the most common reason I think people come out of HubSpot, even if they're using it as the system of record. Like, there's always some other piece of context. I got to bring it out to a spreadsheet. I got to bring it out to a slide deck. Got to use a BI tool,
Mhm.
right, to truly bring all the context together.
Mhm. Do
Awfully
you
quiet today, Rylee.
Well,
I
I'm
know.
trying to like put this in like my brain in a framework that I know, and I'm realizing that I have to like to a large extent I just kind of have to break a lot of the way I'm thinking historically about it. So like from I think the things you're talking about are like like just the pure level of trust in a system would have to be so astronomically high in order for, let's say there's a team of 4 or 5 people that are trying to work on an account, to be able to just check the system and fully trust that it has everything that I need it to have, and that I don't have to go ask somebody else like, hey, how'd that call with your point of contact go last week, that it is accurately collecting that information and transmitting that information over to me to go perform the task that I need to go do in my role. Because I've been that person that is, to your point, like that model exists inside of the human brain for a lot of these accounts, and it's not really easily transmittable to other brains when you're like talking to it, because there's just so many nuance of like, well, it's good, but if it was on Thursday, then he just finished his budget meeting, and then it's a whole like there's all of that weirdness, and I think that's why for the departmental assembly line model kind of came about, because it's just siloed information inside of human brains, and then also it's capped. Like a human being can only be that level of an expert on a finite number of accounts. And so once they reach that threshold, say it's 50, say it's 100, you either have to bring somebody else on to handle any additional accounts, in which case now you're like segmenting 50 batches of information inside of 10 different, like, then it becomes this whole problem in that regard. So the assembly line was great because it kind of blew open that problem. But now so much gets lost in the handoffs. So much gets lost from the buying experience. Casey, I don't know, when you were talking about the who is the you in this, like I hate when I develop a good relationship with a sales rep and then they just pass me off to CSM, and I'm like, man, I like
That's the worst.
Like, I understand why it exists, because the thing that the sales rep is very good at is building trust quickly and kind of being convincing, and you want to optimize them to go do that at scale. But I don't like the hand, like as the buyer in that experience, it's not pleasant. And so this looks like it's kind of trying to go back to the pre-assembly line model, but rethought in a digital structure in a way that like I'm just like, it's very interesting and kind of difficult for me to wrap my brain around.
Right. Yeah, we've never really achieved like effective word of mouth and referral tracking like in digital, right? Which before digital, people put a lot of energy into that because they had to, right? And they didn't necessarily care that they couldn't track every conversation that was had without them, because you knew that it was going to come from somewhere. When you did great work, you did create a lot of value, like you might get some testimonials and stuff, but most of that work is done like, outside of the system that you have control over, right? And I think this is, if you don't mind, I think if we run through these activities, you'll be able to very clearly see like the challenges that we're talking about, right? Because right on the screen here, like 2 of these, like the first 2, definitely something that's scored, like that people would normally get a score for. This third one, join the community. I think almost everybody at this point understands the value of somebody signing up for a community and becoming active. I would be very surprised if, how I wouldn't be surprised how small the number of people is that actually track this information, in a CRM, right? But we all know inherently how valuable this activity is, right? Even to the point of, when we talk about like which stages people are in, like, talk about muddying the hand raiser waters here, right? Like, how much does this activate us to say, oh, Sarah joined, like, Rylee, can you go say hi? Right? Like, it's just a completely different paradigm that we all know how, like, we wouldn't do that if we didn't think it was valuable. like to building the trust and the relationship, but it's unreasonable. It has been. I'll say this is the kind of stuff that we can track with AI now. It's unreasonable to be like Rylee go into a CRM, like said hi to Sarah, like
Yeah.
in Slack, right? Closest we've gotten to that, I think, is LinkedIn, right? Where you can DM people and have it come back into your CRM. But most of the time, that's just a lot of noise that people aren't, because it's so hard to be granular enough for it to matter, but then not get overwhelmed by the scale, right? So here's an email, like that's definitely gets scored. And then normal, like everybody should be used to these kinds of cadences where it's like call, meeting, right? Email, get the agreement signed, kickoff, 30-day check-in, 90-day QBR. How many people are even doing that, right? Sarah volunteered for case study, right? That's the kind of moment that will move people along from, oh, this is just a regular customer, to there's something more here. This is a higher value relationship that we need to take care of and understand, not only to like create value for the company and create value for Sarah directly in that exchange, but to understand what's happening in between to make sure we get more Sarahs, right? That's all the context that's missing in like our frontline, or it exists in our frontline teams, like brains. That simply because they're never asked or there's no place to put that information, we just never leverage it, right? And if we click in, right, and this happens, like I know, I mean, I've done this with HubSpot where it's like, I want to participate in that. I want to do that thing. Like, right. So key insights. And again, like the decision that this kind of thing is not only important because that's an easy decision to get to, but we need to track it in some way, right? Because that will be valuable for us as a business. And it's not as hard to do it as we might have thought, right? So completely voluntary. Wants to help others in a similar situation. So who are those others, Sarah? Oh, offered to speak. Oh, the marketing coordination job just got easier because we've got a speaker ready to, like, raising their hand to participate. Like, these are the kinds of things that AI can enable now if you tell it you want to do that, right?
So Rylee, you had the idea this week to kind of talk through different companies and how this would work. I wonder if, does it make sense to do that in this context of Chris's example?
Well, I'm struggling to. Yes, I think so. But and I'm sorry that I'm struggling, but I'm just trying to like.
No.
I love all of this. I'm like, God, this would be just the most impressive thing to have in order to just at any given point in time to be able to make business decisions, whether it's super granular or whether it's like super high level, to be able to have a system kind of understand all of this context. But like, I mean, this is where now I'm kind of reaching the Chris point of like, but what are you scoring? Like, what if like now if I'm trying to bring it down to like the level of like, okay, now let's create a score inside of a system that has quantifiable like pluses and minuses that is trying to achieve a certain outcome. Like this is just so more nuanced than that can allow in my mind. So like I'm trying to like land this idea in like I'm trying to square the circle a little bit of like how do I what's lead scoring even with this in existence? Like if this is in perfect existence, there is no lead scoring.
Traditional lead scoring, I would agree.
Right. Yeah. So
Right.
when I'm saying lead scoring, I'm talking about like what exists in HubSpot today, right now. Like you go to the little portal on the left side and select lead score, and you start compiling a list of actions that give pluses and minuses that are meant to like help segment your database or like move things through. Like you wouldn't even do that. Like the system has a deeper innate understanding than you could ever actually like put into it. Like they configure a score of it. Like it does this extremely high astrophysics level of calculus scoring when you're making a question to it that like you couldn't build a score that could encompass what it's doing.
Right. Yeah. Signal recognition at scale.
Mm-hmm.
And as an example, right? So during this case study, right, Marcus, whoever that is supportive of the process, right? Approves public association. We look here, Marcus is the CRO,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like as a direct champion, I would expect, Sarah to have a higher health score, right? Or however you want to determine score.
Mm-hmm.
And as you move forward, now you're in the expansion discussion. Do we want to get another team involved? Right? Like we should have a good idea of Marcus's score to understand as the executive sponsor, like, is he still as enthused as he was in the beginning? Right? If we weren't tracking that, like, because usually we would have gone right from contract to expansion discussion. And that's the only time we would have interacted with Marcus. And like, that's basically a new sale at that point. Cause there's been no, like, if Sarah's not doing the work internally and we're not helping Sarah do the work, like it can be very siloed in terms of, oh yeah, this worked for the help desk team or the sales team, but we haven't even thought about it at all for a customer success team.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? Companies like them usually want customer success, so we're going to put them in the system as a lead for customer success, and let's schedule a call. Even though we have not brought up customer success one time, we don't have any idea how the relationship's been going, but they're on our list to call and prospect. So we're just going to go in guns a-blazing and sell them on the customer success workspace in HubSpot, right? It's just a completely different experience for everybody involved. Like there's no trust built, there's urgency where there shouldn't be any urgency. We're doing it for the wrong reasons. I think this enables way more like win-wins and much less stressful like relationship building and revenue generation.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody knows it, right? Everybody knows how important this layer is.
Yeah.
I've just never been good at tracking it, right? And this is why it's important to understand the difference between lead object, deal object, contact object, company object. Because most situations right now, Marcus would come in or somebody from the customer success team, like, oh, they're labeled as customer. They get a score of 100. They're going to be easy. It's like, oh, they've got a pretty entrenched system that they're already using and like. So they probably should be at a score of like 10 until they do some stuff that proves they're not.
Yeah.
I believe there's like a pre-sale score and a post-sale score in most organizations. because I think the behaviors we're looking for pre-sale are just very different. Post-sale, we're looking for like enablement with your company, whatever that looks like. I'm thinking SaaS, but it doesn't have to be. It can also like, um, I work as a consultant. Like, how engaged are they with me? Are they coming to meetings, or are they skipping a lot of my meetings? Things like that. Versus, but that's different than like what I'm looking for pre-sale.
Well, yeah, I think so. Now would be a good time maybe to take a step back and talk about the framing of like it. A lot of this depends on what kind of business you are and who are your customers and how how do your customers buy. Because your point, Casey, of like sometimes there is absolutely like a post sale, like, okay, land and expand motion of like, all right, we got one person in there, great, now we need to go, like, we need to empower that one person to become a champion, and then we also need to like start trying to land additional revenue from all of their associates and coworkers. Like, and that is effectively the same motion as like landing a net new prospect. Like, you're kind of trying to bring them in, do a deal, get a signature, like, and there's other organizations where that's just not the case. Like, you land the company and then you're just done. And then it's pure like customer satisfaction, like just keep them happy. But like, there is no like net new growth to be had within that company. I mean, you can expansions and all of that are like, okay, I'm going to add on is a little different story, but that's with your same buyer. So like, there's a lot of different granularities for like, to your point, is there a pre-sale score and a post-sale score? I think that really depends on what kind of organization and revenue model you have kind of running.
And to that point, like, if you're in a model where like people buy over and over, not like a like subscription model or like a ongoing, then maybe the behaviors are not that different between pre and post sale. Like, if someone has to go to your website and like place the, like, I don't know, I'm thinking like toothpaste, like,
let's try and
like CPG and B2C. I think, like, first of all, there's a lot of organizations in that domain, and it happens both ways, right? Like, where they're in one and they know there's opportunity in the other, and they have no idea how to make that jump. Like B2C, who understands that they have a bunch of distributors, that is a B2B like motion to manage them and help them sell more and develop relationships and like that. And likewise, you're B2B and you know that you could stand up e-commerce, but you've never done direct to consumer before. If you try to treat it like it's some long sales process, and like, it's just not going to work. I think where I'm challenged is like, do we need, like, what are we actually scoring on? Like, what attribute and what interest? Like, if it is just interest to buy, that might be a different score than, trust level.
Well, can we talk a little bit about, and I'm sorry if this is not where we wanted to go, but like, I mean, what are we doing?
But we're live, so we're gonna.
What are we doing with the score? Like, and let's get specific with some examples. Like, is it once a score exceeds 70, then someone gets assigned to a rep, and that rep's job is to then try and connect with that person to determine, is there an opportunity here or not? Like, that level of specifics. Or it's also for segmentation, for like, I'm going to send certain marketing content to this person because their score is higher, with a CTA of like, go book a demo. Whether if someone has a lower score than the CTA is something that's a little softer, that's like, okay, just check out a blog, like just do something. You're kind of just moving them a little step forward. Like, I'm just trying to understand, because that's all the score is doing. Where like in this unified customer view model, the system is just deciding that because it has its score. There isn't like a real numerical representation somewhere in a index view of like, this is this person's score and this is the other one. It's just dynamically collecting this information. And it's being like, hey, Marcus is now needs to be sent this type of content, and it sends it. Like, so that's why I'm saying you don't need lead scoring when this is in its full state of completion, because it's just doing it. Lead scoring is meant to be a way for humans to like understand when and when to not interact with certain things, right?
Based on a signal that we have internally decided and named lead score.
Right.
Right? That is us manufacturing the signal to say sales. So in the situation you just described, that could easily be a notification that says, hey, salesperson in charge of selling customer success, we've got a hot one. Like go engage, like work with the rest of the team, engage and win that business. Right? So I think at its heart, it is some trigger to let the team know that there is a revenue opportunity in, around, or related to this contact, company, or activity that just took place.
Yeah. That
I
needs
think
qualification.
We must
That's like
respond.
we don't know, like, you know, I you know, and kind of like the PLG motion, like you kind of just let the system keep running, and you're like, all right, well, now they're going to sign up for their trial, and then they'll buy. Like, so in that instance, like your lead scoring is a fully automated motion that's kind of sending content and things, but it's not really like a human stopping to like interfere always in some capacity. Or it's doing it in this situation where the system isn't sure what's going on. Like they're doing a bunch of things, and I expect that they would have gone to here and they haven't gone to here yet. Like reach out and see what's going on.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's worth noting, like, you can score for a bunch of different things, but I think, like, if we're talking, like, to just, like, contain the box, I think the three of us have been spending weeks, years discussing the sale-based scoring.
Yeah.
Or revenue-based scoring to appease Chris.
Yeah. And they don't know that
I think we've been discussing lead-based scoring.
years.
Honestly, like, what is a score supposed to do? Like for leads, it's supposed to pre-qualify in some way how
Mhm.
ready this person is for us to spend time, attention, energy on to even see what's what.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even pre-qualify. It's meant, if I'm thinking about like the internal perspective, which I know we want to think about the external perspective, but like it is literally meant to be like if you have a rep or a BDR who's working and they have to figure out, like, I have 10,000 records in this database. Who do I work? You just sort by descending lead score and start going. That in theory, the people with the higher score are more amenable and receptive to outreach.
Why are you choosing not to use the word qualified there? Like, this is a qualification scale where if you sign up for a demo and you haven't done anything with us and we don't have any scores on you, you are less qualified than somebody that has done all the stuff. And
Yeah.
that impacts the way that the demo is going to go, which is why no soap for you if you have no score,
That's true.
right?
Yeah. I typically in my head, and this is just like something that isn't concrete, it's just my historical baggage. Like qualified is like kind of this event after a human being is like reviewed your record and like reached out to you and had a conversation with you. So it's not like you're qualified for the human and then the human talks to you and then you're qualified. Like there's not just like stamp, 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 stamp. It's kind of like qualified. Boom. All right. Now, so that's like just for my own definition with the term of qualified. That's how I have usually been using it. So you're not wrong that the lead scoring is a spectrum of qualification, of pre-qualification for the qualification.
Right. And that's the challenge I think we're trying to address, is like the fact that qualification as a word can understandably mean something different to every single business ever in existence,
Oh yeah.
is a part of the challenge that we're trying to solve for. It's easy to point where most qualification mechanisms are traps, right? Like, oh, this person did a lot of work. Oh, let's spend time on them, and then understand that their CTO really loves Salesforce. So there's zero chance that we are removing Salesforce, right? And we completely like, oh, was super qualified, and then all of a sudden zero chance, right? And I think, like, again, to your point of which problem are we solving for? Like, if a new rep gets into a database where there's 10,000 contacts, like the scoring mechanism, like maybe we shouldn't have 10,000 garbage contacts.
Oh yeah, I mean,
right?
But that's all throughout. Like again, this is kind of, once we've solved all the menial problems that exist and we have this model, then again, I just don't think we need lead scoring. Like lead scoring is our way of trying to wrestle with us having imperfect systems by trying to like get them organized in some capacity.
Yeah, I mean, I say this all the time, but Rylee, you said the point of a score is to determine when to deploy resources. So like, I think that's it. And that's why I think in most organizations, not all, in maybe not even most, that's too broad of a statement. I work with a lot of B2B SaaS. In my universe, most of the organizations I work with, it would be a pre-sale and a post-sale score. The post-sale score being like, are they likely to churn, or are they likely to like increase or advance?
Like a customer health score kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have the pre-sale, which is like, are they likely to buy?
Viability.
Yeah. It does definitely get more complicated. I have one client who sells hospital equipment like carts and stuff, and we were building a score for them, and one thing that was coming up was like, if they've purchased from us previously, they're more likely to purchase from us again.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where it gets complicated, because like, and then we even were like, okay, but like how many purchases where like they're just like established and we are their like source, where we don't.
Well, again, this to me is where you start 10 or 20 different scorings, because that's a different score to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's
Mm-hmm.
like a repeat purchase score that has its own criteria that's measured against its own things. Like if you're lumping that in and trying to factor that into a singular lead score, that score is going to be inefficient at everything that it's trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to answer too many questions. Like you need it to answer as finite amount of questions as possible. So I'm with you on like repeat customer purchasing is somewhat of a different score.
So in that example, do you think there would be like a first-time customer score, a repeat customer score, and then maybe there's a score to determine who's like who are the
I've always done, for the most part, like, and again, I haven't thought this through with this framework, but I know we've kind of been dancing around and talking about it. Like each stage has its own score.
Mm-hmm. We talked about this at some point.
Pinnacle of score, you proceed to the next stage. You're still scoring for the subsequent stage or the previous stage. So like my researcher score can go down despite me have maximized its score and moved into the hand raiser stage, but like it's still being scored. So you can kind of have this static shot of what all's going on. But that's why I've usually done this with like, what were I don't even remember the default stages anymore now because of all of this. Subscriber lead, MQL, and an SQL. Like it's not uncommon for me. There's kind of those four scores.
Mhm.
And each one has its level of like what you are and aren't doing to that record based on what's going on in those thresholds.
So to like just to answer the question that I wrote when I created this LinkedIn event, who are we lead scoring anyway? I mean, I think the answer is any. I'm scared. Chris is making a
I think
face
the
though. I
answer is
can't. I gotta cover his
for
picture. I can't watch him.
for people listening to this that are trying to build lead score, the answer is pick which one matters most and start there. And have it be as narrow, like in terms of it that it can be anyone and everyone. Like, no, it needs to be for a narrowish purpose. And then if you find out that you need to score additional people for additional things, like add on to it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like who are we scoring? Anyone, if for our conversations, anyone that could be a buyer.
Right. The ideal is anyone who's willing to give us money.
Right. And so which way is it worded in your post, Casey?
Who are we lead scoring anyway?
Whose lead score is it anyway?
So when it's said like that,
Drew Carey.
leads.
Mhm.
If it's a lead score,
Yeah.
like we're
Mhm.
scoring leads.
Mhm.
That's why that word screws everything up. Like we shouldn't even have to explain this, right? And
So,
go ahead.
well, I think like where it works, like where this is all clean, is if you're using the lead object right now, which now you're gonna be able to rename it, and then it's
As you
gonna get more
should.
confusing.
Yep.
But like, I think the cleanest use of this is the leads. The purpose of the lead score is to identify who we should create a lead for.
Who?
Contact level. Yeah.
Does it have to be who? Like, because this is where if I have 5 different business lines, let's say I have 6 hubs, for example, and this contact in their company has marketing hub.
Mhm.
Is it conceivable that they might need 5 different signals, 5 different leads that apply to each of the other hubs?
Yeah, but you can create multiple leads.
Right. It's not about
Not a
who
problem.
then. It's about what. What is the opportunity? What is the signal?
Which
Right?
requires a who. I see what you're saying, but it requires a who. So it's who and then for what.
I'm sorry, Chris. I'm trying to talk about the human.
I'd say in this case, it doesn't always require a who. Right? Like if you can base this on the company and you haven't figured out who to get in touch with yet.
But you can create a lead based on the company.
That's what I mean. Like the company as an organization,
Yeah.
which is how a lot of people prospect, right?
Mhm.
That's where the signal is what's the opportunity, right? And the lead journey, what has
Mhm.
happened up to now? What is the thing that we have decided that we need to take action on to try and turn this into a deal? Which in turn, revenue opportunity,
Yeah.
right? So, and I think that's the best example to highlight the need for complexity here. When you do have one entity that could show up in multiple like revenue kind of ways, like in your organization,
Mhm.
the reason we haven't been good at resell, upsell, cross sell is because we don't treat it like that. It's like this person might be all in on sales, but if you try to sell them Service Hub, they might show you the door for everything because they've never given you any signals that that is important to them.
Mhm.
It might scare the crap out of them because they've got a service director that is diehard in service now or whatever. And it's like a non-starter. And then you get them to bring it up. And then like, it's just that we have to meet the complexity, like where it's at. And that, I think we're overcomplicating it. Like if we need to use the word lead and call it lead score, mind you, after you click on lead score, you just see scoring after that everywhere, right? If that's how we're going to use it, then we're scoring leads. And have we defined what a lead is for the business? That's who we're scoring.
And that's going to depend on the business, what the lead is.
Right. Versus, I think that there's a path towards like just scoring trust and health of the relationship that carries all the way through to where if I'm selling carts, the only way they're rebuying is if a bunch of trust has been built and we did all the things right. We delivered it right. And then they actually adopted. We hear them. We not only do we hear them, we give them an opportunity by remembering to say, has this been valuable for you? Right? When we just assume everybody's like max trust because they've given us money, we don't even ask questions like that. Right? And when we do, now that's another thing that's like, all right, they're closer to 100% trust. But if we don't know the answer to that question, or we do ask it and they're like, you know what? Not so much. And this other person's reaching out, they're taking us out to dinner and it feels like they care more about the relationship. Okay, they were at 100, now they're at like 60 and at risk of like not buying anything else. So I think attaching it to, in the traditional way, attaching it to like upsell, cross-sell, renewal, like again, we're back to the dehumanization conversation, understanding that there's people involved and we're trying to build trust with those people. And if we do, more value will be created, whether it's revenue or referrals or all of the things.
So if you were going to go into your portal and start building out a score right now, I mean, what are you trying to measure? What are you trying to understand if entity A has more of than entity B and then do differently based on those values? Entity can be a person or a company or whatever you want it to be.
I think trust is a reasonable, again, you just have to define what activities need to be taken to denote trust. I think time on page, when you know it's actually time on page and they're actually there consuming the content, or sales documents, I think that is a trust signal, right? Bounce rate, high bounce rate means I don't trust you because you tried to trick me with a Google ad and now I got here and I don't need, like, not what I was expecting. So you have to get, I think this is where the complete picture comes back. Like, do you even have the data that you need to determine what builds trust and what doesn't, and what detracts?
Rylee doesn't look satisfied, but that means we've got something to talk about next week.
I'm just trying to understand how that functions. I mean, so it seems like the lead creation object, if we're creating anything there, or if you're like anti that, then like that's a different discussion. But like if it's a scale of 0 to 100, just because these are scores and we're dealing with real numbers, like the 100 is basically like this person has been a customer for years and is basically now an investor in my company. Like just the level of trust, like they are the highest level. So the dealing with like the day-to-day of what people have been using scores for historically, like is like assigning a sales rep between score 10 and 11. And obviously we could go to 1,000. Like, let's not focus on the actual specifics of the number, but like, are you then kind of putting in little gates and things within that score of like, okay, if they're right here and if they're here for a while, then send them to sales or like something like that.
Yeah, I still think it has to signal the organization what the organization is supposed to do. Whether it's automation, manual outreach, sending, very specific type of resource, inviting them to speak at the next thing. Right. That's where we've traditionally, it's sales. We only think of sales needing to take action when it could be any customer facing person in the organization to develop some kind of value.
The lens you're looking through this of is whatever resource you're deploying is basically just, will this build trust or will it won't? If it doesn't build trust, then we're not going to do it. Like if for whatever reason we're able to determine like this person just doesn't want to talk to sales, then having some arbitrary metric of they got a 30 here, now let's send them to sales is not the method. So there needs to be kind of some sophistication in the automation of surrounding the score.
You need context. Yeah. And if it's built into that 30 and we know what that 30 means every single time, and sales is the right answer to that signal,
I see.
Then we stick sales on them. Right. I think back to whether it's surveys, feedback loops, speaking events or VIP sessions, lunch and learns, all these situations when we're asked for, hey, can you pull a list of our customers? And it's just a list of emails without any context or scores or anything. And then marketing's supposed to go through one by one to like do out. It's almost the same damn thing is why sales doesn't want to do that. Right? Like, okay, because here's what happens, right? We reach out. Oh yeah, it's been a shit show. I can't even believe you're calling me for a survey right now or to speak on your behalf. Like I can't stand you guys. Right? Like I've seen that happen before. And like the context, right? If the scoring can help us get to the context needed for that handoff to be successful, then yeah, let's score it. But it's all relative context. So that 5 points for a video, like, how could you possibly know that unless you know what happens when other people have watched that video in conjunction with all of their other actions that they've taken? Right? Usually we make the decisions like, oh, this is a demo video, so clearly. It's like, not really.
All right. So, as always, we don't have it all figured out.
We're rescoring all the humans that we want, that we care about the relationships we have as a business. Every single one. If we're going to score.
Just twist the knife there a little, Chris.
I mean, we could just tell AI which signals to look out for and let us know when to act. People are already doing that. HubSpot's already built the capabilities for that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's kind of the real version of this. That like scoring was just this kind of mid ground for human beings to try and figure this out before. You just tell a system what to do, and then eventually it gets so good at it that it tells you what it's doing it for because it knows better.
It's working for you instead of the other way around. How about that world?
All right. Well, next week, I think we'll continue to dive into what these signals look like. I think Rylee and I are anxious to kind of look into, what this all sounds good, but what do those signals actually look like? And I think one thing I keep thinking about is like how much is native inside of HubSpot already and what isn't native and requires something else. Period.
Yeah.
So thank you for hanging out with us. We will see you next Monday. If you've got thoughts on this, drop them in the comments. We're all figuring it out together. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye-bye.